Let's go down to Wall Street. Let's bring in CNBC's Dominic Chu. As we pointed out yesterday, Dom, nearly a 1,200-point drop, the worst single-day loss in the history of the Dow Jones market. What's it looking like this morning?
All right, so Willie, Mika, Joe, to add to Jonathan's point here, the reason why we don't want to be alarmist about either the medical impact for the coronavirus or the market impact, but there's no doubt that the issues around the coronavirus are having a significant impact. You mentioned that 1,200 nearly point loss yesterday in the Dow, the biggest single-day point loss in the history of the Dow. But what's more important here from a broader perspective is it's not just the Dow. The S&P 500, a broader measure of the U.S. stock market, has now lost in the last 6 days some $4 trillion worth of market value. $6 trillion worth of market value has been lost in global markets, all of that according to data from S&P Dow Jones indices. It is also a scenario where the markets now for the S&P have now fallen by 10% or more in the fastest period or span in market history. That is to say, we were just about 6-7 trading days ago at record highs for the S&P. It took only 6 days to fall by 10% or more. Now, as the coronavirus fears start to emerge and manifest themselves in the economy, we have a host of analysts and economists on Wall Street now starting to try to predict or model out what the economic impact will be. A number of big investment banks, including those at Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Citigroup and others, have now economist teams and analyst teams who have taken down their forecasts for growth in the economy, not just here in the U.S., but around the world. And what that translates into is fewer corporate profits. In fact, folks at Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, and JP Morgan are now predicting that there will be no profit growth for S&P 500 companies in the year 2020. Now, they are still making money, but it's hard to justify rising stock prices when companies don't make more money. And folks, that's the reason why you're seeing markets react the way that they are, because there is this uncertainty about just how much the world economy will slow down based upon the latest results from those tests around the world and coronavirus.
You know, Dom, it's so much the markets going up and down. Of course, I know about markets because Willie and I go to OTB, and we know, we've always said, you know, reading the dogs is about the same thing as reading blue chip stocks. Right. Have we not been proven right time and again?
Just
sorry, Don.
You
don't have to respond to that.
Please don't.
No. I mean, I haven't been to the racetrack in quite some time, but I will say this: it's hard to say this, but it's also hard to say anything else with regard to whether or not we can predict what the market's going to do.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So many factors at play.
I was just really saying nothing. I was just nonsense. It was leading into a question, Don, and that's this. Because I was about to suggest that I actually knew what happened with stock markets. So that's why I did the self-deprecating dog track joke, which, of course, all the kids out there are dying laughing, Tom. I assure you that. Yeah. But listen, you know, usually when I look at the markets, I say this is witchcraft. So much of it goes up and down. We don't really know why. A lot of times, the valuation's not tied to how a particular business is going. But in this case, it's not speculation. The drops are connected to very real events that are happening right now. No guesswork. Corporations across America, across the world, are cutting back non-essential travel, severely cutting back non-essential travel. Conferences are being canceled. I talked to a diplomat who was going to a very critical international meeting and said that he was not going to be going. That the country decided they were going to have to sit it out. You're looking at huge events that are being canceled across the globe, and our parent company here is going to have to make a decision on the Olympics in Japan right now. The Japanese are trying to figure out what they're going to do with the Olympics, and I'm sure a lot of organizations across the world the same. This is the severity of this on business, as you see a lot of tankers just sitting out, you know, in China, in ports, going nowhere. This is an extreme situation. Supply lines have been shattered, and it's going to have a real extreme impact. And I don't know that we've even seen the beginning of the worst of it, and that's got to just terrify investors.
So it does. And to all of those points, you speak the truth. I mean, first of all, we saw what happened to the world's biggest wireless technology event, the Mobile World Congress, the biggest event for wireless technology in the world every year, got canceled in Barcelona earlier this year. We heard that Facebook has a huge developers conference for all of the people tied to its application and platforms. They are canceling their developers conference later on this year. Everybody is now looking at their travel plans and saying, yes, this could be an issue. What's more so, perhaps a bit more uncertain about this whole thing is whether or not that becomes a long-term issue, right? Because if this is just a situation where it's the next 3 or 6 months or even 9 months, you can kind of say, hey, things will bounce back in that time. The real uncertainty right now is about whether or not it lasts for even longer than that. And that's the reason why a host of different companies, from the likes of Microsoft to other technology companies to folks out there linked to industrials, are saying, hey, if the economy slows down, our business will take a hit. Our revenues, our top-line numbers, our bottom-line profits will take a hit on this, and that's the reason why you're seeing this revaluation. By the way, to your point about certain companies being impacted by this, it's not all negative, right? If you look at, I just looked earlier this morning, shares of Clorox, of all companies, not the sexiest name in the world, but they're at record highs right now because, in part, people are looking at bleach and sanitizing products. And by the way, for that video conferencing thing you were talking about, Zoom Video, which is a video conferencing service that the WHO uses for its own teleconferences, is now up at its record highs because people are saying, hey, if I can't travel, I'm going to teleconference more. So keep an eye on a lot of those types of stories. They're going to play out a lot in the next few weeks here.
All right, Dom, thank you so much. Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.